Who was Edward Snowden and what was his past? Edward Snowden was born in Elizabeth City, North Carolina on June 21, 1983. Snowden dropped out of high school and studied computers at Anne Arundel Community College in Arnold, Maryland, and eventually obtained his GED. In 2003, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and began training for the Special Forces. He believed he had an obligation to help free people from oppression. He then realized that many of the people training him were more focused on killing Arabs than helping anyone, and after he broke both of his legs in a training accident, he was discharged. He then got a job in an NSA facility at the University of Maryland, working as a security guard. Then he got a job with the CIA working on IT security. In 2007, the CIA appointed him to diplomatic cover in Geneva, Switzerland, where he was able to access a wide array of documents. Access to these documents and being around CIA officers for almost 3 years led him to question many things. He left the CIA in 2009 and began working for a private contractor on a functioning NSA facility stationed on a military base in Japan. Once Obama was not fixing the policies that Snowden believed should be fixed, he got angry. What did Edward Snowden do and why? As Snowden continued working for the NSA for 3 more years, he learned how intense the NSA surveillance activities were. He said that the NSA are, quote, intent on making every conversation and every form of behavior in the world known to them. He believed that the value of the internet, basic privacy, and people's basic liberties are being destroyed by this surveillance. Once he realized that the NSA surveillance would soon be irrevocable, he decided to act on it. He began to copy top-secret NSA documents about disturbing domestic surveillance practices. After he compiled many documents, he told the NSA supervisor that he needed a leave of absence for medical reasons. And on May 20th, 2013, Snowden flew to Hong Kong, China, where he met with UK journalists from The Guardian and filmmaker Wara Potras. On June 5th, The Guardian released the secret documents that they received from Snowden, and the following day many other press agencies reported on the information. Snowden is now in hiding in Russia to avoid the U.S. charges. The Russian government denied U.S. requests to send Snowden back.
What exactly did he release? Edward Snowden, a former contractor for the CIA, left the U.S. in late May after leaking to the media details of extensive internet and phone surveillance by American intelligence. Snowden shared different partnerships that the NSA has with companies around the U.S. An example would be Verizon. Snowden shares how the NSA has all of our phone records and information if you are a carrier Verizon. The NSA works with many organizations to make sure that the public does not know that the government has all of our personal information from the internet and our phones. The NSA was even hacking computers in Hong Kong and mainland China. Few of them were military systems. Britain's intelligence agency intercepted phone and internet communications of foreign politicians attending two G20 meetings in London in 2009. They also tap fiber optic cables to collect and store global emails, Facebook posts, internet histories, and calls, and shares them with the NSA. How does it affect America? America was affected in different ways by Snowden leaking these files. One area that was affected was popular culture. A documentary was made about Snowden by one of the journalists who worked with him. Tech companies were heavily affected by this leak. Companies like Google and Facebook have taken steps to protect and encrypt user data, even at the risk of angering government authorities. Apple even refused to cooperate when the FBI sought access to the iPhone of one of the killers behind the massacre in San Bernardino, California. Snowden's revelations caused a diplomatic crisis for the Obama administration. It forced the administration to explain spying on foreign leaders. Had Snowden never released this information to the public, companies would have never gone out of their way to make sure they are more secure, and questions would not have been asked to the Obama administration. It made Americans distrust our government and phone companies because now people are more cautious about someone listening or reading their conversations.
How is it relevant to other topics we've discussed in class? The first topic we discussed in class that relates to the Snowden Revelations involves social control. We have discussed social control as being a mechanism the ruling class uses that can shape people's actions. The government for years has manipulated the information people get, and because of that, people don't realize how much control the government actually has. Another topic that's related to the Snowden Revelations includes hypernormalization. Hypernormalization is a product of living under capitalism, where it is believed that that's just the way it is, or that's just how it works. People see the government as having all of this power, and they don't find it abnormal because it has been normalized. The final and most obvious connection to the Snowden Revelations is the presence of Islamophobia. When Snowden released the documents, many Americans didn't react in a state of panic or uproar over the fact that the government has the ability to monitor every conversation a person has. Because most Americans are caught up in a state of Islamophobia, they don't mind having the government on their backs because they feel safe. People would rather have their freedom stripped and feel safe than to worry about a foreign terrorist attack. Why might the Snowden revelations have been omitted from popular knowledge, and why should we care? There are many reasons the Snowden revelations and the documents Snowden released could have been kept from the public. The government was able to keep all of this information from the public due to three main things: the government being the ruling elite, hypernormalization, and systemic ignorance and anti-intellectualism. Because the government is the ruling class, they have the power to keep things from the public. Also, after the governments were exposed, the fact that the government could monitor everyone's conversations became hypernormalized. Lastly, because of systemic ignorance and anti-intellectualism, the American people just don't care what the government is doing because we don't have the time or energy to worry about it. We're too busy worrying about jobs, families, and money to pay attention to the fact that the government is taking control of our lives, which is exactly why we should care about the Snowden revelations. When Snowden first released the documents, many people didn't even find it to be a big deal that the government was monitoring citizens. Snowden brought this to not only the American people, but to the entire world's attention. Once the government realizes that people don't mind their privacy being invaded, they will continue to invade more and more.